Assalamu alaikum students, this is your course instructor Rawaisha Sadiq from Department of English, University of Southern Punjab, Multan. So student, today we will be studying Vapsi Sidhwa's novel Ice Candy Man through the lens of post-colonialism. This lecture will introduce you to the basic concept of post-colonial theory. It provides the historical context of partition and then analyze how Sidhwa's narrative highlights the struggle of identity, hybridity, trauma, and gender violence in the post-colonial South Asia. By the end of this session, you will understand how literature becomes a tool for writing back to the colonial histories and giving voice to the marginalized. So student, it is crucial for you even to have a theoretical understanding of post-colonialism. For that, I refer you to read Empire Writes Back. Vapsi Sidhwa's Ice Candy Man, also known in the United States as Cracking India. Student, it stands as one of the most important South Asian novels about partition and is a particularly rich text for post-colonial analysis because it captures the devastating human cost of colonialism and the complex negotiations of identity, culture, and gender in its aftermath. The novel, as you already know, that I have discussed with you in the summary of the text, set in Lahore during the years leading up to and following the partition of India in 1947. It is narrated by Lenny, a young Parsi girl with polio, whose position as both a child and a member of a religious minority community gives her a unique perspective that is at once innocent, observant, and deeply revealing. We know that the kids are innocent, so she is depicting the heroic story through the eyes of an innocent kid. Before analyzing the novel in its depth, it's important to recall what we mean by post-colonialism. So, student in literary studies, post-colonialism examines the long-term effect of colonial domination, focusing on how political control, cultural influence, and ideological structures imposed by colonizers, our colonial masters, continue to shape the identities, histories, and voices of formerly colonized people. So, post-colonial literature, student, it seeks to expose the silences and distortions left by imperial histories, to articulate experience of displacement, hybridity, and trauma, and to claim indigenous perspective through narrative. Writers from colonized societies often use literature as a form of resistance, what critics call writing back to the empire, not only by challenging colonial stereotypes but also by presenting alternative histories and truths that disrupt the official colonial narrative. As our histories has been erased by the colonizers, Sidhwa's Ice Candy Man is exemplary of this because it recounts partition, one of the most traumatic moments of decolonization, through the eyes of ordinary South Asians rather than through the voices of political leaders or imperial authorities. The first important post-colonial dimension of the novel is its representation of colonial legacies, particularly in the way it narrates the partition, the event of partition, the becoming of two or the dividing of two different countries, India and Pakistan. The British decision to withdraw from India was implemented with extreme haste, and the Radcliffe Line, the border between the new nations of India and Pakistan, was drawn in a matter of weeks, cutting through villages, rivers, and homes with no regard of human realities. This arbitrary division uprooted around 40 million people and caused massacres that killed perhaps a million. Sidhwa's novels makes clear that partition was not just a natural outcome of Hindu-Muslim antagonism, as a colonial narrative often suggested, but it was exacerbated and in many ways produced by colonial policies of divide and rule, which had fostered communal distrust for decades. It was a highly political act. In Ice Candyman, this is dramatized not in the corridors of power, but in the streets and the neighborhoods of Lahore. We see once friendly Hindu, Muslim, Sikhs, and Parsis suddenly drawn into violent conflicts, illustrating how the colonial legacy fractured communities that had coexisted for centuries. Through Lenny's innocent perspective, we watch this transformation unfold. There is an ominous aura about the city as depicted, as written in the text. She notes as communal riots begin to spread. What is significant here from a post-colonial angle is that Sidwa tells the story not through British characters, but through indigenous voices, reclaiming history from below and exposing and even excavating the destructive legacies of colonial mismanagement. Another central post-colonial theme or post-colonial aspect that is visible in the novel is heredity, a minority identity which Sidwa explores through the Parsi community. The Parsis, who were the followers of Zoroastrianism, were a small religious group in colonial India, who often maintained loyalties to the British while simultaneously coexisted with Hindus and Muslims. In the novel, their attitude is one of survival. As written, we will survive with whichever rulers come, they declare. The family, a Parsi family, the family of Parsi declares their allegiance to whom, who will rule. This reflects the liminality of minority identity caught in between Mediterranean politics but attempting to carve out a safe existence. Before that, they were obeying the British colonial masters, and then they decided they will follow who will rule. From a post-colonial theoretical perspective, this reflects Homi Bhabha's concept of hybridity, the condition of existing in a space between cultural categories, neither fully belonging to one nor the other, but negotiating identity in a way that resists fixed binaries. So, Lenny's own narration, it embodies hybridity. As a child, she is simultaneously insider and outsider, trusted by adults but not fully understanding their word, able to observe but unable to participate. Her fragmented perspective mirrors the fractured consciousness of colonized people who struggle to reconcile admiration for aspects of colonial order with awareness of its violent consequences. This fragmented vision, student, is one of the ways Sidwa critiques the post-colonial condition. Identity itself becomes unstable in the aftermath of colonial rule. Perhaps the most powerful and haunting element of Ice Candyman from a post-colonial perspective is the description of gendered violence. We have already discussed in the previous lecture while discussing the feminism in Ice Candyman. Post-colonial feminism emphasizes that the burden of colonialism and decolonization were not distributed equally. Women were doubly marginalized, first by patriarchal structures and then by the violence of nationalist and communal struggles. Who became the victim? The bodies of females, the bodies of women. In partition, women became the symbolic representatives of community honor, and their bodies were often targeted for abduction, for rape and forced conversion. And it is quite evident from the character of Aya, who was abducted, who was raped, and who was forcefully married and converted. Sidwa portrays the reality with painful clarity through the story of Aya, who Lenny's Hindu nanny. Initially, Aya was a symbol of beauty, fertility, and sensuality. She becomes the focus of multiple men's desire, including the eyes can the men. But when partition happens, riot engulfs Lahore, Aya is abducted by a mob led by the very man who once courted her affection, Ice Candy Man. This movement crystallizes the gender dimension of post-colonial trauma. Aya's abduction is not just a, we may say that, the personal violation, but it was also a representation how women's body were treated and transformed into sites of communal revenge and nationalist assertion. Lani, witnessing this, says with a horror, they drag her off, they drag her away. In this harrowing scene, the abduction scene, Sidhwa gives voice to the silenced experiences of women, making visible the suffering that official histories of partition often ignored. Aya's face becomes emblematic of thousands of women who disappeared during the partition, their stories erased in silence from the pages of history. But so here through fiction, their pain is inscribed into cultural memory. This is what makes the novel a deeply feminist post-colonial text. It insists that women's experiences are central to understanding decolonization. Students, the language itself becomes the site of post-colonial resistance in Sidhwa's work. Although Ice Candy Man is written in English, the language of the colonizer, it is deliberately hybridized and localized. Sidhwa's peppers are narrative with South Asian terms. Even we find the references of South Asian food element, even South Asian vocabulary, just chaprasi, badmash, the references of food, chapati, samosa without translation or italicization, thereby asserting their cultural legitimacy. This strategy forces English to carry South Asian realities, reshaping it into a tool of resistance rather than domination. As if you are familiar with Ngugi wa Thiong'o has argued post-colonial writers must reclaim their language. And while he rejected English entirely, others like Sidhwa demonstrate how English can be appropriated and transformed into instrument for indigenous storytelling. Even many of the Pakistani Anglophone writers incorporate Urdu with the primary text of English language. This is a prime example of what Ashcroft, Griffiths and Triffin described as a writing back to the empire. The colonizer's language is appropriated and refashioned to narrative, and Sidhwa demonstrate here how English can be appropriated and it can be transformed into an instrument for indigenous narrative, for telling the story of a country, to telling the story of a nation, and how to write back to the colonial masters. So this appropriation of the language, that is the refashioning of the to narrate the pain and resilience of the colonized communities and an individual. The character of Ice Candy Man himself embodies many post-colonial contradictions, and he becomes a central metaphor for the fractured psyche of partition. At first, he is depicted as a charming, playful, talkative figure who entertains with gossips and humor. He sells ice candies on the streets, representing innocence, livelihood and communal interaction. Yet his violence spreads, his personality changes. He becomes communal, vengeful, obsessive, leading to the mob that abducts Ayaz. His transformation mirrors that of Lahore itself, from a cosmopolitan city of coexistence to a site of suspicion, betrayal and bloodshed. His obsession with Aya symbolizes how women were reduced to objects of possession in conflicts. Post-colonially, the Ice Candy Man becomes the embodiment of the fractured self, hopeful for independence yet scared by the violence that independence unleashed. He reflects the tragedy of decolonization, that the dream of freedom was accompanied by unimaginable loss. Another important post-colonial aspect of the novel is its concern with memory and history. You have familiar with the amnesia, the history, and the memory. Partition, as critics have noted, was an event that produced silences. Official histories tended to focus on political readers and constitutional negotiation, while the violence suffered by ordinary people was marginalized. Sidhwa, in her novel, intervenes in this silence by narrating history from below through the eyes of a child and through the experience of servants, women, and minority communities. This narrative demonstrates how fiction can supplement history by preserving lived memory. Lanny's fragmented recollections highlight the difficulty of fully grasping the trauma of partition, yet they also testify to its enduring impact. In this, student, in this sense, Ice Candy Man participates in the broader post-colonial project of recovering suppressed histories and ensuring that trauma is remembered rather than erased. If we summarize the post-colonial aspects of the novel, several stand out clearly. First, the novel critiques the colonial legacies that directly produce the violence of partition. Second, it highlights the hybridity and minority identity through the perspective of Parsi and student. Thirdly, it emphasizes the gender nature of trauma, showing how women were turned into battlegrounds of community and nation. Fourth, it demonstrates linguistic hybridity by reshaping English into South Asian fiction. Fifth, it portrays fractured identities of individuals like the Ice Candy Man and of communities like Lahore as they struggle for wholeness in the aftermath of colonialism. Taken together, these elements reveal Ice Candy Man as not just a partition novel, but a profound post-colonial text that critiques empire, documents the violence of decolonization, and foregrounds the identities and voices marginalized by official history. So student, this is all about our today's lecture. I would refer you to read some post-colonial theoretical texts, so you must have a better understanding of what is post-colonialism and how you can apply it to different Pakistani writings. Till for the next lecture.